This episode of The Hirsh Show is brought to you by Knack Bags, the best backpacks for working from anywhere.
From the Empty the Bench Podcast Network, straight out of New York City, it's time for The Hirsh Show. He's back and better than ever. And on today's show, professional ball hawk Zack Hample. With your host, Kyle Hirshon. And now, here's Hirsh.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to The Hirsh Show for another week of fun times. And this week it's a little bit different because I have my producer and the founder of Empty the Bench, Mr. Nick Morgasen, with me. Hi, Nick.
How are you, Kyle? I was very excited, I should say, for this interview to come.
Oh, absolutely. We've been talking about this for a while now, and we're very excited to welcome our guest today. He has been at 61 Major League Baseball stadiums in his lifetime. He has caught over 11,000. I am not joking with you. 11,000 baseballs from 61 different Major League stadiums, including a bunch of milestone balls that we'll talk about in this show today. I'm very excited to welcome Mr. Zack Hample to the Hirsh Show.
Hello, gentlemen. It's great to be here with you today. Thank you for the very nice intro also.
Oh, thank you very much. Zack, this is a very exciting time. Baseball, from the time we're taping this, baseball is just about to begin. You very excited about this season?
I'm psyched. Yeah. I mean, baseball has been disrupted so much over the past few years. And as everyone knows, I mean, we nearly lost this season or a big chunk of it. So it's like, we back, baby. Like, who knows what the pandemic is going to do next, but no mask requirements at stadiums, no social distancing, like a full season. So let's do it.
Absolutely. And especially, the baseball lockout that occurred earlier this winter. I mean, I was really concerned that, this whole Max Scherzer contract with the Mets, because I'm a Mets fan, this whole contract would go for naught. But I'm just so happy that we have a baseball season. I wish I had a prop with me because if you watched one of the last episodes I did, I interviewed Dale Scott, former Major League Baseball umpire, and I blew up a party popper and I accidentally burned my thumb.
Oh my God.
Nick, you wanted to talk to Zack for a long time, huh?
Oh no, I really enjoy his channel. I watch, especially during the baseball season. So with the lockout situation, or almost lockout situation, did that really affect how your content was going to be chosen? How did that almost affect you?
Teachers take the summers off, and I'm sort of at this point where I just take the winters off. And if there wasn't going to be any baseball, I might have just been like, well, I guess I'm just going to have a longer off season. But it sounded like minor league baseball was going to play. So I was prepared to just go to a whole slate of minor league stadiums, which it's not my favorite baseball. Just as a fan, I care more about Major League Baseball. Like, I want to see the best people in the world doing their thing. I don't want to see the second best people. No offense to minor leaguers, but if they're better, they'd be major leaguers. But I don't know. Minor league baseball is great. I worked in the minors. That was the best summer of my life for the Boise Hawks in 1995. So I have a lot of love for minor league baseball. I just don't follow the stats or anything, but I was going to do it. But now it's like pretty much just major league games for me.
There you go. Do you know exactly where you're going to be at opening day?
Well, I'm still working that out. I do know, and again, depending on when this airs, but as of now, since the season is about to start, a big thing that I've planned is April 10th in Reading, Pennsylvania. There's a whole Zack Hample Day at the Phillies AA team, the Reading Fightin' Phils. So even if I've already gone to it, by the time people see or hear this, the video might not be out until after people are seeing this interview. So look for that video on my YouTube channel. But my schedule is actually a mess right now because things like I had plans to see the Tigers at a certain point early on because I was thinking, when is Miggy going to get his 3,000th hit? But now at the first week wiped out with those games made up later, it's like Miggy won't get there. So I've been reconfiguring a whole lot of stuff. So it's all up in the air.
So to talk about the milestone process, since you started to talk about that, is that how you determine some of your scheduling? Because like you got the 3,000th hit from A-Rod. I'm assuming that was based on scheduling, and the Mike Trout first home run, which we'll get into. I have some questions about that as well. But is that how you determine your scheduling for certain teams and games?
I do try to keep an eye on the MLB milestone tracker and to see who has 99 career home runs or 999 hits or whatever, because it's always cool to catch special baseballs. And of course, when there are top prospects coming up, I definitely try to see if I can be there when they might be hitting their first home run. But, I don't own a private jet, and I work with a videographer who's amazing, but he's not free all the time. So there are certain limitations, and, it's like, maybe I want to go to Detroit when Miggy is going for 3,000, but if the Yankees are there, it's going to be twice as crowded and it's just not fun. Maybe it's not even worth it. I have to decide, like a 3,000th hit would probably be worth it. But if I'm trying to catch a lesser milestone, maybe it's not worth getting on a plane for that if the stadium's going to be packed. So yeah, I keep all this stuff in mind. I mean, I feel like I need a full-time assistant just to tell me which important games I should go to, because who's going to hit which ball. But yeah, it's part of the fun is figuring this stuff out.
Oh, of course. I mean, this year with the American League, it is stacked. I mean, we just found out that Julio Rodriguez, the number 3 prospect, is making the opening day roster for the Mariners. Bobby Witt Jr. is making his major league debut. So there's a lot of star power from these rookies coming up. And yeah, as you said, it's very challenging to decipher. It's like, okay, should I go for Rodriguez? Should I go for Witt? Maybe they'll hit their first career dinger today. I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of variables that you have to keep in mind. And I would assume for one person, it is very difficult.
Yeah, it's I went to 101 baseball games last year, and maybe I would have even gone to more. Like if I had a whole production company where people just followed me and they filmed it and they edited it, and then they just delivered this like perfect jewel of a video, and like, here's your thumbnail, here's your title, here are the clips for social media. Oh, give us your passwords, we'll post it. Like if people are just doing all of that for me, then it would be fun to try to go to 200 games in a year. But I'm a human person and I need to sleep, and I try to have a social life, and I do like to edit some of the videos myself to put my own stamp on it. And there's only so much I can do, and keeping track of all the players and all the teams and the stadiums and the commemorative balls, and yeah, it's enough to drive me crazy sometimes in a fun way. Let's just be clear about that. I'm not complaining. I love this, but it is a lot.
Oh, well, I can imagine.
I was going to ask that next question, Zach, that you brought up. That what is the process of putting together one whole video when we see it? Because I think it comes out a week or two after you do a video.
Usually, when you're actually about a week or two, depending on where it is.
It just depends. Like the first video of a road trip, I'm going to try to crank that out as quickly as possible. If I go to a game and I have nothing to do the next day, maybe I'll just crank that video out within 24 hours. Or, I am working with other editors now a little bit. So, if I'm working with someone and they're like, I'm free these days, if you get me the footage, I can turn it around quickly. So sometimes things will come out fast, but like, if I'm out on the road for 8 days and I've filmed 7 videos at 6 stadiums, first of all, when the hell do I have time to edit? And I have, 6 other videos to post first. So that 7th one might not come out for 2 weeks because I'm rolling them out every 2 or 3 days. So it's tough to know when something is going to air. And now I'm working with SeatGeek again for the season, and they want me to do a certain number of promos for them per month. So I have to plan like, so this video isn't going to come out for 2 weeks. So if I need it to air by the end of this calendar month, I'm going to have to film it by like the 17th. Like, it's just, it's a lot. So I'm trying to get better and better at this, and I am getting better year by year. There are always new challenges, and, I just try to have fun with it.
Of course. And I mean, as you keep mentioning, with this becoming essentially a full-time job with the YouTube channel and all the social media. And, what was your thought process on creating your YouTube channel? Because you made this a long time ago, like what, 5, 6, 7 years ago?
Yeah. So my first year that YouTube became big for me was 2016, but I didn't really get into it full time until 2017, where I was like, this is what I am doing. I'm not going to work at my family's bookstore anymore. Like, this is it. Because I saw the potential. So this is what, like the 6th year that it's going to be a full-time thing for me. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, I got a D- in statistics in college.
I failed trigonometry in 10th grade, so I feel you 100%.
I realized that it could be huge after I snagged the A-Rod 3000th hit, because the amount of attention that I got from that, a lot of which was negative, unfortunately, especially early on.
Makes the Yankee fan, he should know.
Yankee fans hated me. Everybody else loved me because it seemed like I wasn't going to give the ball to A-Rod. And then ultimately I did, and we can talk about that. But like, just all the notoriety from that, for better or worse, really propelled me on YouTube. And it even took me until a few weeks into the following season to monetize my channel. YouTube was never supposed to be a money-making thing. It was just like, I wrote a blog for years for free just because it was fun to put my stuff out there. And YouTube was the same type of thing, just another avenue to share content. I thought you had to get like 1 billion views to earn $100. But then I had a friend who knew more about this stuff, and she set me on the right path to getting monetized. And I could not believe when I actually got paid. And I think I told her, like, if I ever get any money from this, the first thing I'm going to do is take you out to lunch. And like, my first YouTube check was like $70 or something like that. So like, we went out and had a very nice Greek lunch, and that was back in 2016. And yeah, now I don't like to talk about money and numbers that much, but I mean, I am making way more money on YouTube than I ever earned with any other job. So like, it's a real thing. Like, you can be successful without being an A-list celebrity. So it's pretty wild to be in this position right now.
And I'm going to defend you. First of all, I'm a Yankee fan. I defend you in that situation with the A-Rod ball. And heard you.
That's because you're a sensible person.
You hear that, people? Be sensible.
Because I totally get it. You catch a milestone baseball like that, it's a tough situation. And I heard you talk about in a few interviews that maybe I could have handled the social media a little bit differently. Oh, yeah. But I can totally understand, hey, I just caught this amazing 3,000 hit baseball. It's rare. And the way milestones are going today, when's the next time you're going to see a 3,000 hit besides Miggy? When are you going to see a 3,000 hit ball? You're just not. So I can totally understand. But the question I have is, what went through your head when you caught that baseball and said, oh my God, I just caught A-Rod's 3,000th hit? What happened?
Well, going back to the Miggy thing, who knows if Miggy's even going to hit a home run? The way he's going, it'll be like a single between first and second base. So you might see it, but you're not going to get a chance to catch it unless you're the right fielder picking it up off the grass. So what went through my head was pure disbelief. And now 7 years later, since I got that A-Rod ball, it's still hard to believe that it was reality and actually happened. And if I watch the footage of it, and it's not like I'm, sitting at home and alone at night, like getting aroused, watching footage of myself getting this ball, but like, I still see it. It gets played here and there, whatever. It's in the documentary that's out now. I still get chills all these years later. Like, I cannot believe it. I wasn't even so much happy as I was just in a state of disbelief. And if you look at certain camera angles, the replays, you can just see my face. I was just like, yeah. So that's kind of what went through my head. And I still feel a lot of that to this day.
And as you mentioned in the documentary, you mentioned that only 3,000 hit balls went into the stands: Wade Boggs, Derek Jeter, and A-Rod. And as you mentioned, 2 of those balls were given back to the players immediately, but you decided to keep it because, well, you wanted to make some history. You were probably one of 3 people to ever have a 3,000 hit ball, a member of the public. And as you said, this could have been easily, 6 figures, maybe 7 figures?
Yeah. Auction experts at the time were estimating that it would sell for anywhere from 50,000, which seemed very low, to 500,000, which seemed more accurate, but still kind of low. But they're the experts, whatever. But then again, I wrote a book where I researched the most valuable baseballs of all time, and I tend to have a good sense of these things. Who knows? It's all speculative because I didn't send that ball to auction, but it could have been definitely six figures. Let's be real. Maybe seven. Mike Trout's first career home run, that would definitely be a 7-figure ball right now. Kind of breaks my heart that I don't have the opportunity to sell that, but I don't regret my decision to give that back to him at the time. For me, I don't see dollar signs when I see these baseballs flying around. It's fun to be connected to a historical baseball moment, and nothing's worth more to me than the experience itself. I've talked about this in the past, but it's the YouTube and all the sponsorships and the merch. That's how I make the money, but I don't go after the baseballs to make money. I've never sold a baseball, and I could have made millions if that were, my motivation. So it's weird to sort of have the two sides like that.
And also you have a friendship partially with Trout, right? With certain situations. He gave you a bat over the years when you showed up. I think it was at a Ranger game, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe friendship is a bit strong. It's certainly, it's a friendly acquaintanceship kind of thing. We're on a first name basis. I'm like, hey, Trouty. He's like, hey, Zach. So, I mean, that's cool to have the GOAT know who I am, although some might argue that Ohtani is the new GOAT, but let him do it for more than a season. That's what I say.
And the other thing I just wanted to follow up also, you have a great charity foundation pitching for baseball and softball, which I think you do a great thing with that organization as well. So I think that's probably part of your motivation, right? To kind of raise money for charity.
Absolutely. And just to be clear, because there is some confusion out there, it's not my charity. Like when the Yankees donated all this money for the A-Rod ball, it was often said like they donated it to Zack Hample's charity, which then makes people think like, well, that if it's his charity, like maybe he's keeping the money. I have nothing to do with this charity other than I found it on the internet in 2009 and got in touch because I loved what they were doing, sending equipment to kids all over the world to help people play ball. And I asked if I could help them raise money with my collection. So I've become friendly with the people in that who run that charity because I've worked with them for more than a decade. But it's not my charity. It's just something that I support from the outside.
Yes, and of course, looking at the partners. I mean, we have so many big partners with Pitching for Baseball. You've got the Twins, you've got the Mets, you've got the Reds, the Giants, Team USA Baseball, Wilson, the equipment company, and of course Zack Hample. So there's a lot of terrific partnerships with this charity, and they've done so much to teach the youth about baseball and why baseball is such as I said previously, it's the greatest game in the world.
Can't argue with that. Absolutely.
And so why baseball? Why has baseball become so entrenched with your life?
That's a damn good question. I feel like, I was always naturally very athletic as a kid. I played every different sport, and I was often, this is real talk, I was often the best at any sport up until a certain age. And then people caught up with me. Like, my athletic peak was when I was about 16. I wish it were when I were 30, because I'd be worth $500 million now. But yeah, I was very athletic, and I gravitated toward baseball. Of the four major sports, you got to be 7 feet tall to play basketball and 7 feet wide to play football. And ice hockey was just not a thing for me, wanting to have my teeth knocked out and growing up in the Canadian tundra, whatever. And no hate against these other sports, but it didn't resonate with me. But baseball was the thing that pulled me in. And there's many specifics about the sport, but I was just especially good at it and fond of it. And from a young age, I loved the idea of being a spectator and being able to catch these objects that flew out of the field. So that kind of sucked me into the vortex at a fairly young age as far as my desire to get a baseball. Of course, it took me years and years to even get one. And we all know the insanity that's happened since then.
Now, a question I asked is about the streak. I remember watching the videos when you did the streak. Did you feel a lot of pressure? Now, I know you've talked about it afterwards that you're happy you don't have to deal with the stress of trying to get a baseball at every stadium and every day you go. Are you happier that the streak is no longer a thing, or were you happy at the time that the streak was a thing? How do you feel about it?
Right. So just for those who may not know, I had a long streak for more than a quarter of a century where I got at least one baseball at every single major league game that I attended, including batting practice, toss-ups, but a lot of gamers as well in there. And that streak was more than 1,500 games that spread out over all those years. So I was tempted to try to keep it going and beat Cal Ripken Jr.'s streak and all that stuff. But yeah, the pressure was just too much. I found myself skipping games because it's like, oh, it's rainy and there's not going to be batting practice. And I don't want to have to struggle to like beg for a toss up for 2 hours by the bullpens. Like I knew that I could get a ball, but it's just not fun. And I would skip games because it was raining and stay home and watch it on TV and then see home runs during games land right in my seat. And it drove me crazy. And I was like, if I didn't have this stupid streak that I was trying to protect, then I would have caught more home runs. And it's sort of like when a potential batting champion sits out on the last day of the season because he's X number of batting average points ahead of the next guy. And like, if the first guy sits and the second guy goes 4 for 4, he definitely still won't catch him. And it's just so tacky to live for your stats. Like you should just do your thing and let the stats be a natural reflection of what you're doing. And I found myself getting caught up in that loop of worrying too much about the numbers. So really that's why I ended it. And I don't regret it at all.
And, with all of these games that you go to, all of the times you had to beg for a toss-up, use different languages for certain players. Speaking of languages, how many languages are you able to speak as far as asking for a baseball?
Something like 37.
Jesus.
And not specifically a baseball. It's just, like a ball in general. And most of these are just useless party tricks. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's going to be a Bulgarian major leaguer anytime soon or Russian or, but like, yeah, I can ask for baseballs in all kinds of interesting languages. Spanish, dame la pelota, por favor, is a big one. In Japanese, choto, oro nagete kudasai. But yeah, Korean and Taiwanese. I've used French ones to get a baseball from Claude Raymond, who was a coach on the Expos. And I used sign language a couple times to get baseballs from Curtis Pride, who is hearing impaired. I actually ran into him last year at was it the All-Star game or the Home Run Derby in Colorado? But yeah, he's in the video on my channel and he was really cool. And so it's just one more way to basically make this interactive and like a game and try to not really outsmart the players because it's not me versus them, but just kind of to get inside their heads a little bit and to try to figure out what would work, just like in the same way that pitchers and hitters have this cat and mouse game and they're trying to outdo each other. And again, not to compare myself to a player and be like, oh, I'm on their level, because I'm not. They're the ones with the real talent, but it is fun to have a game within the game and try to figure things out.
So the one thing that I also like that you do in the videos, I love the cup trick. I love the way the different contraption you've had over the years. When did you first start doing the cup trick? I'm curious in that regard.
So the cup trick is sort of a newer retrieval device for me to pick up baseballs that are out of reach. The first one was the glove trick, which I invented when I was about 14 or 15, because at Yankee Stadium, the old stadium, and it's actually still true with the new one because it's basically the same outfield, you have these walls that are like 8 to 10 feet high, and baseballs would roll onto the warning track and just sit there, sometimes for a long time during batting practice, and nobody could get them. And it was driving me crazy. And I was like, if I can find some way to lower something on a string, I bet I could pick up these balls. And I came up with the glove trick as a teen. And that was my secret weapon for a long, long time. I was the only person most of the time that ever had a device that could pick up baseballs. Now there's a lot of people who do it. And I think a big reason is that I've shown it a lot on my YouTube channel, but you just have to be careful if you're doing that, because certain stadiums have different rules. Like they'll let you do it in the bullpen, but not on the field, or you can do it in a dead space behind the outfield wall, but not in the bullpen, or you can do it pre-game, but not during the game. Some places you can't do it at all. Some places just do not care. So, it's not stealing, as some people claim, but certain teams might have certain rules that you have to respect.
Of course. And I mean, I've seen you do the glove trick a couple times. Nick, it's really interesting. It's all it is. It's just a glove, rubber band,
and a Sharpie.
Magic marker. Yeah, that's all it is, with some string. It's, I'm going to curse here. It's fucking awesome.
Wow. Okay. Go for it.
Now, you've mentioned about, stadiums and certain rules. Have you ever been to a stadium where they've ever really given you such a hard time that they threatened to throw you out?
Yes, I've actually been ejected from 6 different games at 3 different stadiums. There's been some false reports out there that I'm banned from 3 stadiums. That's not true. I've been to every stadium in a season 4 different times, including recently in the last few years. So not banned, but I've been ejected from 3. The Mets security personnel in the 1990s were criminally abusive, and it made me not like the Mets. Basically, they were so awful to me and made up a whole special set of rules just for me. I mean, they would check my ticket for batting practice and nobody else's. They would tell me that I could not lean over the wall for a ground ball during batting practice, but everybody else could. So of course I took issue with this, and I would still do the things that other people were doing, and then I'd get kicked out for it. So I got kicked out of 4 games by Met security for absolute BS reasons. I'm still pissed off to this day. I got kicked out of a game at Nationals Park because I was falsely accused of selling baseballs. Okay. This was a year after I caught Mike Trout's first home run. I didn't sell that. I gave it to him for free. And yet the Nationals accused me of selling batting practice balls. There were some commemorative logos from the Dodgers. I had them turned face up to take pictures from my blog. And somehow somebody thought I was selling them, reported me, got kicked out. And then I got kicked out of a game in Philly in 2013 for using bad language.
Oh,
I mean, they would have to kick out half the stadium every day. Yeah, basically. So those are the reasons that I've gotten kicked out. The bad language was not anything, racist or homophobic or bigoted or any way. It was actually something private that I said to a friend that a vendor overheard me say and then report. It was like really strange.
That's a lot of bullshit.
Yeah,
it really is. But it's been 9 years since I've gotten ejected. Even though none of that stuff was my fault at the time, I have toned down my act even more since then. So I really can't imagine ever getting ejected again. Although the Dodgers gave me a hard time last year in LA because there were so many people coming up to me asking for my autograph and for selfies. True story. This sounds like fake news, but you can see it on my channel.
Oh no, I saw your video. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that the Dodgers said that I was causing a scene, and the next time I plan something like that, I have to go through the team. And I was like, I didn't plan it. These people just recognized me. So they were not that nice about it, but it's all hopefully done and forgotten. Much love to the Dodgers. Hope to be back at their stadium soon. But it's just weird how what I do riles people up so much. Thankfully, most of it is positive, especially in person. But yeah, there's a lot of hate online. So it's a constant battle to either deal with it or ignore it.
Now,
go ahead.
Oh, the one thing I was going to ask about the YouTube channel. Now, obviously you started the YouTube channel way before baseball has gone through some of its weird issues and they're all worried about money now. If you started the YouTube channel today and you saw a lot of the issues with baseball, would it deter you differently than it did back then when there wasn't as many issues?
Well, I can say that it's a lot less fun to go to baseball games now with protective netting all over the place, even pre-game, when there's no chance of getting hit by a ball, but yet it's just fixed there and you can't interact with the players. No backpack rules at most stadiums, gate times opening much later. It's a lot less fan friendly. And of course, prices going up. So baseball is still a glorious game and I'll always love it. And yeah, I mean, I think I still would do the same thing all over again, but there are a lot more challenges as a fan than when I first started going to games, obviously as a teenager. And even since I started doing YouTube videos, I think the sport is heading in a dangerous direction. I think they're changing the rules around an awful lot. And I think they should really be careful and remember that ultimately it's all about the fans and they are an entertainment business, and to lighten up a little bit.
Yeah. And, you know, you've said this before, you know, dealing with all the haters and the critics. How do you necessarily deal with all the haters that try to make you look bad? I mean, we've seen it on when you were on television appearances, The Tonight Show, Late Night with Conan O'Brien, Jay Leno. They try to make you look like you're the villain. How do you rise up to the challenge and say, hey, no, this is not who I am. This is what I really do?
It was tougher for me years ago, not only because I was newer to being on TV, but because I didn't have, I guess my story wasn't fully formed yet. And if you're only quote unquote a hobbyist and you're not making money from something, it's easier to put it down. So if I'm just the crazy guy that's going to a lot of games because I'm obsessed with baseballs, it's sort of like, get a life, loser. But now it's like, well, I've written 3 books. I have a YouTube channel. There's a documentary. Like I raise money for charity. Like who's a loser now? But I try to keep things really positive, but that was harder to do before I had all these other things going on in my baseball life, you know?
And actually you brought up something that I was going to bring up. So the comment section on YouTube and all the different comments you receive, whether it's positive or negative, how do you deal? I don't know if deal is the right word. How do you deal with the situation of the negative comments from time to time?
Well, the block button on Twitter is a wonderful tool. I've blocked over 2,000 people on Twitter.
Jeez.
And yeah, I've blocked hundreds in a single night on multiple occasions when things sort of blew up in a negative way and everybody came after me. And you could say like, oh, it's soft if you're blocking people. It's like, well, it's not your right to be hostile and threaten me.
Well, of course, yes.
It's a privilege if you get to see what I have to say. So yeah, I'm quick to block people if they really insult me with abusive language, they're blocked. If they threaten me, of course, they're blocked. If they tell lies about me, people who falsely accuse me of knocking kids down, I used to block all of them, but now I realize that a lot of them are probably just misinformed. So occasionally I'll try to engage them and set them on the right path. YouTube has a feature where you can basically shadow ban people, like they don't know that they're banned. So I've done that to a lot of folks. So they'll keep spouting off and saying nasty stuff, and on their computer it shows up. But for me and for everybody else, they're invisible. So I love doing that as well. But there's so much more positivity out there than negativity. So I try to focus on that. And ultimately I try to channel my inner Reggie Jackson. He said famously, fans don't boo nobodies. I love that quote. And I just try to remember when people are really giving it to me, I must be doing something right to have them even take notice of me.
Absolutely. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to take a look at our sponsor, Knack Bags. By the way, you can order your bag right here. Yes. And if you do, enter
that looks nice.
Yeah, they're really nice. You should check it out. Knackbags.com. If you go onto the website and enter in the promo code Hirsh, I can't even spell my name, HIRSH, you will get a free gift with your purchase. We'll be right back. Take a look.
Hey everyone, it's Hirsh. I want to take a few moments of your time to talk about today's sponsor, Knack. If you're like me, I'm constantly on the move, whether it's for business, leisure, or any sort of thing. And because of that, I need to carry my electronics with me. I have a laptop, I have a tablet, of course I've got my cell phone, but I want to tell you about our sponsor, Knack. They have created this beautifully designed bag. And what's really cool about these is that there's no need to choose between style and functionality. These bags are designed for professionals in mind with function, convenience. It doesn't make you look like a student, so that's really nice. With this patented design, Knack is the first backpack that expands. I mean, look at this. I mean, there's so much room in here that you could put anything in here. And it's got a professional appearance to help you look your best, whether you're in the office or you're out in the world. Get a Knack bag today and stop worrying about, the life essentials and stuff, making sure that everything you carry is safe. And if you go to knackbags.com and enter the promo code Hirsh for a limited time, you will get a free gift. This TSA approved lock. Just add the TSA lock to your cart with your bag of purchase. I mean, I got this beautiful olive green. They come in black, they come in blue, tan, gray. So many amazing colors to choose from. Again, go to the website, knackbags.com, enter the promo code Hirsh, and you will get a free TSA approved lock. And now, back to our show.
Welcome back to the Hirsh Show, ladies and gentlemen, presented by Knack Bags. Nick Morgasen is with me as always, and we are talking with, I don't know what I should call you. Should I call you a ball hawk? Should I call you a content creator? Or what's your preferred title, Mr. Zack Hample?
Can we go with movie star?
Sure,
Yes.
Movie star, of course.
I mean, that's not a lie.
It's not a lie. A new documentary just came out last week. Zack Hample versus the world. You can find it. Where can we find it, Zack?
It is available on many different streaming platforms, including Amazon, Apple, Google Play, Vimeo, and more. So just search it up and good chance it'll be there.
Now I want to talk about this documentary. Now, what inspired, I don't think it was you that had the idea. I think it was the filmmaker that had the desire to make a documentary about you and your journey to, I think it was 10,000 baseballs.
Yeah, it's kind of cool that not only does this 95-minute movie about me exist in the world, but it wasn't even me tooting my own horn and saying that like this thing needs to exist. It was some random guy that I didn't even know who wanted to do this. I randomly met him at a Phillies game in 2008. He recognized me from my blog and he had a copy of my first book, and it was his first time trying to catch baseballs. And there I was, 100 miles from home. So he introduced himself. I was with my mom. I wrote a blog entry that day. Like you can see a picture of us. And he said that, he was a filmmaker and wanted to do something on me someday. And I was like, okay. Like I was nice to him, but in my mind, I was like, sure. A lot of people have wanted to do a lot of things. It's not going to happen, but he was very nice. We kept in touch. And 6 years after that, so 2014, he interviewed me for the first time and we weren't even sure what it was going to be. At the time, maybe it was going to be something part of something else about the hobby in general. And in 2014, and you can see this in the documentary, I talked about how amazing it would be to catch a milestone home run, such as a 3,000th career hit. And then a year later, it happened. And so when that A-Rod ball thing happened, it was just like, well, I guess, Jeff, that was the filmmaker. It's like, I think your whole movie has to be about me now. That was his idea. But that was the moment that really cemented the film as being like, this is a thing that needs to be about you exclusively, and it has to be out there. So it's been a long journey, and Major League Baseball posted a short version of this film. Like it was always intended to be a feature-length film, but Major League Baseball wanted certain content a few years back. And this guy, Jeff Siegel, the filmmaker, had been working with ESPN and MLB. So they came to him and they're like, you have some ideas for films? And he's like, well, I could, give you a short version of this other thing I'm working on. So MLB posted that. There's some confusion out there with people who were like, well, I saw the thing that MLB did. Isn't this the same? No, this is many, many times longer, much more interesting, in depth. It's truly a work of art. This film is so beautifully filmed, crafted, the storytelling, the flow, and it's not even just about baseball. If you're interested in just like weirdos and how they ended up being so weird, like you got to see this film, because my life is pretty bonkers and the film goes into a lot of that stuff.
So in your wildest dreams, and I'll try to wrap this together because I know you've done a lot of interviews, try to wrap it up with you. So in your wildest dreams, did you think a film, a YouTube channel with sponsors, getting to do different interviews, did you ever think in your wildest dreams you would be at this point? And what would you go back and tell your younger self now after doing all this stuff?
I absolutely could not have ever imagined this. My 12-year-old self would be absolutely ecstatic at what I'm doing today, but would be pretty repulsed by all the salads that I eat. But, advice for 12-year-old me probably would have been more social advice than anything. Just like, chill out, stop trying to impress people, stop trying to show off, stop trying to make jokes all the time, stop trying to be so negative all the time. But also remember that no matter what you do, other kids really suck and they're going to try to tear you down. And I just would have told myself, like, just be a little more calm and know that the older you get, the better quality people you're going to meet. And it's all going to be fine. Like, that probably would have been my advice, because there's still the inner 12-year-old that worships baseball players and, just gets caught up in all this stuff. And I remember what it was like to not have friends and to idolize, baseball celebrities. And again, I want to use that term lightly because the players are the real celebrities, but I have made a name for myself in the baseball world. And I know that kids out there really do look up to YouTubers in general. So I don't want to completely brush that aside. Like, kids out there, especially, like, are often very happy to meet me, and I want to give them time, and I want to be nice, and I want to sign autographs. Even if I don't think that my autograph is worth that much money, I know how much it means to them. And I imagine how I would have felt if I were 12 and I met current me. Like, I probably would have lost my mind. So yeah, it's pretty wild to be in this situation and to really be living out this dream as like this baseball guy that gets to go to different stadiums and make videos and have an audience and just connect with the players. Like, it's wild. The job is tough. It's a lot of work and there's a lot of stressful things, but it definitely falls into the dream job category. And just to even be talking to you guys and to be sharing this with your fans and your audience, like, what a thrill. I never want to take it for granted. And I'm so thankful to get to do this and, to be able to give back to the baseball world in the process, to raise money for charity, giving away thousands of baseballs to kids and just to bring smiles to people's faces. It's really amazing.
Of course, because, there'll be kids in their lifetime that go to baseball games. If they bring their glove, they'll never get the opportunity to have a baseball in their possession. And, once they see you there and you give them a ball, it's like the greatest moment of their lives. It's like, you just made my week, my year. I was like, yay, I'm holding this piece of cowhide and leather. It's just, there's so much more meaning to it. And that's what I love about the sport. And that's what I think what makes you a quality content creator. I think this is one of the first few times where we're actually not trying to make you look like you're the villain. Now, I mean,
you can try if you want. You want to put me on the hot seat and insult me for a minute?
No.
I think go on Twitter if I want that.
No, right. I think way too positively of you to say anything bad about you. So.
No, and you've done so much for the game itself. You've gotten so many young people interested in the sport and going to games. You see, I mean, granted, kids have always gone to baseball games, but now because of you, more people are starting to say, hey, if I see this guy at a game, maybe there's a chance that I could potentially interact with either a player or grab a baseball or even catch one during a game. I mean, I got very lucky. I think it was like 2018. I caught the late Luis Valbuena. I caught a foul ball from him, and I thought that was the greatest day of my life.
Did you have a glove?
I had a glove. Now, the story was really weird. I was in the Hyundai Club at Citi Field. If you've been
that's a good spot.
Yeah, they've got like a buffet. So I was eating food and me thinking like, I'm not going to catch something. Immediately, he hits one. It ricochets off the 300 level. I had my glove halfway in. I make the catch and I'm freaking the hell out. I'm like, oh my God. And it was amazing. It was off Jacob deGrom. So it's even better.
You got some future Hall of Famer DNA on that one.
I know, right? And last thing, you mentioned salads. Now, obviously, you're a very fit guy. I'm sure, and you've eaten a lot of junk during the season. How do you stay in shape?
I eat very well when I'm not at baseball stadiums. Mm-hmm. So, I also work out pretty regularly. I try to do crunches every day and push-ups every other day. And on the non-push-up days, I do some light weights. And I live in a 16-story building in New York City, so I go up and down the stairs a few times most days. But I don't typically drink calories. Like, I've never been drunk. I've never even tasted Coke or Pepsi. I just don't drink soda or juice. It's a lot of sugar. So I eat like a maniac, but I'm not also adding calories with my beverages. I think that helps. And yeah, I as much garbage as I eat at stadiums, I've actually become mostly vegetarian when I'm not doing that. So I don't know if you've heard the term. It's kind of a dopey word, but it's actually accurate. Flexitarian.
I have heard.
Yes.
Yes.
So I am a flexitarian, which just basically means like mostly vegetarian, but occasionally, whether for convenience or for fun, you will eat some meat. But I feel like I could be vegan, and maybe I will someday, or at least vegetarian as all the fake meats become tastier. So I'm definitely moving in that direction of being healthier. And I've dated vegans for about 5 years of my life. It's been amazing. So I try to be as healthy as possible, but I think variety is important, and I tend to not want to do all or nothing. So every now and then eat the garbage, but balance it out. So that's how I make it work.
Well, that's what I found fascinating. I was watching back on your video in San Diego where you met the guy with the gloves, and I was watching that video, and some of the food that you were eating in that video was fascinating. Just the desserts alone.
I have a serious sugar problem. I really do. It's not good. I feel like, generations ago, everybody smoked and no one really knew how bad it was. Like, you sort of figured like, well, this is not great, but there was a lot of misinformation and propaganda. Cigarettes were even billed as healthy at one point. Like, you can clear out your lungs by like having this smoke pass through. Like, I don't know.
Hell, the Flintstones did commercials for Winston cigarettes. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I feel like something's going to come out someday about how sugar causes everyone to have cancer. And then I'm going to be like, oh my God, look at all these desserts I ate all the time. But, again, I don't drink soda and I don't drink juice, and I don't even really eat cereal because, let's face it, that's just like carbs that turn to sugar in your system. So even eating desserts like a maniac on YouTube a number of times a year, I still feel like I'm not eating as much sugar as maybe the typical American out there. So I'm very good at making excuses and justifying things. But again, I think having a balance is a fun and healthy way to go through life.
All right. So, well, yeah. And I think that's a great way to end this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. For all of us, follow the Hirsh Show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at the Hirsh Show. Follow the Empty the Bench podcast network. We've got a whole bunch of other shows that you can watch and listen to on the go. And of course, Mr. Zack Hample, you've been such a terrific guest. Follow him at Zack Hample, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, subscribe to his YouTube channel. He's done so much for the baseball community. And of course, watch Zack Hample versus the World on most streaming platforms. Is there anybody you'd like to plug, Zack?
I will just say that a portion of the proceeds from this documentary are going to charity. Pitch in for baseball and softball. There you go. If you're on the fence, like, this guy's kind of a dweeb, like, do I really want to watch this? Maybe it's interesting. In case that helps move the needle a little bit, you will actually be helping kids play ball by watching the movie. So I really do hope you check it out. It's fun. And as long as you guys know how to spell my name out there, I'm pretty easy to find. So check out my stuff. Lots of good vibes, lots of baseball adventures. And if you ever see me at a game, please come say hello. I love hanging out with people.
Of course. Well, since we're all in the tri-state area, we'll definitely catch you at either Citi Field or Yankee Stadium at some point during the season, and then we'll say hello.
Yeah.
Anyway, great, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys soon.